Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
This is our weekly live show where we talk about all the things concerning Star Wars and other fandoms that we enjoy, like the MCU. And actually, there is some MCU stuff we're going to talk about today, probably afterwards.
Some trailers and stuff.
Yeah. So first, before we get started, hold on a second. I forgot to scroll up on this. Yeah. So today we're doing Mando season 3, episode 5 or episode 6, chapter 22, Guns for Hire. No Bad Batch this week, and it makes me really sad because I was really kind of getting into that. So I really miss it. Thanks to Connor at the Star Wars Hub for all the support. Go check it out. Star Wars Hub, Star Wars Veritas on Facebook. They're great pages. We enjoyed them. You will enjoy them too, or so help me God.
You will enjoy.
Make sure you click like, subscribe, share the stream. Join us on Discord. The link's in the description. And right after this, at 7, we're going to play some Battlefront, as we usually do.
As is tradition.
Yeah. And a reminder, this is we're going to be reading some comments after our Mando recap. So if you want to sneak in some comments while we're doing a recap, we will obviously respond to those and read them. So feel free to do that. And then so usually we do a bit of Star Wars news. For example, Brian says, "Star-studded adventure." I know. Yeah. So many fucking cameos in this. We're not gonna throw any spoilers out without a spoiler warning. So so don't worry about it. But this was. The Mando episode was I was like, oh my gosh.
It's fucking Leo DiCaprio pointing at the TV.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
It's that guy.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun because 2 of these actors are some of my favorite people in the entire world, and I was really stoked about it. Some people have seems like everyone's kind of split on it. We'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah. I don't know. People just need to calm the fuck down and have some fun because that's how it's intended. So in the world of Star Wars news, you know that Star Wars Acolyte is
it's out there. I guess the eventually. Somewhere.
Oh, speaking of Star Wars Acolyte, not really speaking of, but this weekend is Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah,
and I assume if there's anything huge, like we'll be live and we'll talk about it because I have a feeling they might announce a new Star Wars movie, like
have an actual video presentation of something.
Well, no, I think they're going to announce the next mainline movie. Like
if they do, Kathleen Kennedy won't be doing it. She's not allowed to.
Yeah. So it's I think there would be something big. At the very least, I think we can expect a trailer for Ahsoka. That makes total sense because it's supposed to be coming up fairly soon.
Couple of months, yeah.
I think the Acolyte's already finished. I think it wrapped filming, right?
Oh, really?
I think so.
Did not know it was that far.
I know it started. They probably have enough for a teaser for it, so we might get that. And then probably something from Skeleton Crew because that is quite a long. That has made it quite a long ways. So. No Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron.
No, that has been canned.
Apparently Taika Waititi's still doing his thing, so who knows? I don't know. It's going to be one of those things where I think there'll be at least 1 or 2 things where everyone's like, oh my god. And then so the Acolyte.
Yes.
Leslie Headland's creator, director. Starring Amanda Stenberg. Probably gonna get into the Sith and then into Plagueis and all this other bullshit. But they were chatting about it, and this is what Turner Smith, who is Jodie. Sorry, I forgot to pull this up beforehand, and I don't have the notes on it. So anyway, someone important said, "I can tell you that what Leslie Headland has done inside this IP is unlike anything we've seen before from Star Wars, and I got to play a really amazing, powerful character who I'm really proud of, and under the guidance of one of my favorite directors, Kogananda. In I like how I said it, and then I was like, yes, that's correct. Say it again. In these 2 episodes, you're going to see something really amazing." Amanda Stenberg is what a cruel name. by the way. Like, it is literally one letter away from Amanda. Like, trips me up every time. It's such an incredible performer, and I got to work with JJ and Carrie-Anne Moss. Carrie-Anne Moss was Trinity in all the fucking Matrix movies.
Yeah.
Fucking great actor.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. It wasn't until we got to the end of production that I realized that Dean Charles Chapman, who played King Tommen in fucking Game of Thrones, who I also love, was the Lannister who jumps out of the window, which is exactly what happens to him. So
that is also the one thing I remember about that character.
Yeah.
On that show.
Poor.
He's just looking there while King's Landing is burning. Just stands up, walks out the window.
Yeah. Fucking King Tommen the Sweet. That poor kid. Jimmy says, hello, Jedi Enclave. I thought the episode was great. Don't have a lot to do with the main plot. I disagree with that, but I enjoyed, well, at least.
So,
we'll get to it. Yeah.
We'll get to that.
In fact, I have some gripes. We'll get there when we get there. But I enjoyed especially the Dooku and Anakin. Well, we're not going to get into it. What I just said isn't a huge spoiler anyway. But don't feel like you've been spoiled on anything. I should probably read these after we start the recap, so we have our spoiler graphic up. So anyway, they're out doing talking about the Acolyte. It sounds like they actually have finished.
And they're saying
filming.
typical Hollywood stuff. Oh, the director is great. I love the cast. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. And I think we'll see something about it in Star Wars Celebration. And which Star Wars Celebration is always, I kick myself in the ass every day. It feels like for missing Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, because it's right in our backyard. Yeah. It's like 3 hours away. 3 hours, yeah. And it just didn't work out. It just didn't come together, and I wasn't able to go. And now it's in fucking London, which why would you go to London for anything? Like, Jesus Christ, why would you want to go to London? I mean, if it was in Anaheim, we should road trip to Anaheim the next time it's there. I did a road trip to California once with people I didn't like very much, and I feel like the two of us would do well on a road trip, because we can be in a car and not say anything and not have it be a problem. No. Because neither of us are necessarily the kind of people who have to be talking about something. I'm just floating that out there. I know I'm putting the spotlight on you. I'm just saying we're gonna drive to Anaheim.
Man, I did a road trip from California once with my brother a few years back.
It's a long fucking drive. Yeah. It was like 30 something hours.
I mean, it was extra long because we stopped at the Grand Canyon and the meteor crater out west.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we drove to and from Los Angeles in a 5-seat 4-door car with 5 people. So every seat was taken, and it was obnoxious, and not everyone there liked each other.
And I remember you saying it was either Nebraska or Oklahoma, which was just completely empty.
Kansas.
Yeah,
Kansas. Which, by the way, stupid fucking state, Kansas. we drove through Kansas, and we stopped at a gas station, and it's like this gas station and nothing around it, right? And it looked like there might have been a city there at one point or something. So we went to the gas station, and I made a joke. I was like, Jesus, are you guys like the only thing out there? And the worker was like, yeah, a tornado came through and ripped the entire town apart. Oh. And I was like, I'm going to go.
Was that too soon?
Yeah.
It might have been too soon.
We also got, we got pulled over in Texas.
Oh, God.
By the most Walker Texas Ranger looking motherfucker in the world with the big hat and everything.
I could make an awful joke here, but I'll let you finish this story.
Well, me as a gay man, I'm like, I might be executed here. This is not good. And I can't remember why we got pulled over. It was like 3 a.m, and we were lost, and the GPS was doing weird things, and he just gave us a warning and let us go. He's actually a really nice guy. I was like really, really afraid for my life though. What were you gonna say?
Well,
something about Texas.
None of you were black, so you would have been fine.
That's true. That is actually true. So yeah, expecting something about Acolyte. How do we get to Texas? Star Wars Celebration.
Yes.
That's how. Okay. Also, some Jedi Survivor Advance reviews have come out. Some people have played, I think, like 4 hours of the game.
Okay.
And they're advanced copies. I'm sure that the people that are given this opportunity are the people they know are going to say nice things about it.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like anyone's going to be like, oh, this game is way worse than I thought it would be, which I don't think would be the case anyway, because it looks like it's in really, like, solid shape.
Yeah. So the way video game reviews typically work is a couple weeks ahead of release, the studio or the publisher will send out copies to some publications, and they'll be given an embargo, which is like you can't publish the full review until the day the game is released.
Right. Yeah.
But like there's often exceptions to that embargo for like very specific parts, or like you can be extraordinarily general, but you can't get drilled down to any specifics.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that there are some gaming content creators that have already played, or in the next couple of weeks will have already played the entire game and recorded their walkthrough of it, but can't publish it until
that's also very typical.
These guys were allowed to play the first 4 hours. I think the reason they're doing it this way, it's not that far away, by the way. It's only like a 20-something days.
End of the month, yeah.
And since they had to push it back, they're probably like, oh, we need to make sure like we keep goosing everyone in the ass and make sure no one forgets this game. Like we're gonna forget a fucking AAA Star Wars game, right? So all of the reviews have been overwhelmingly positive, and I know that doesn't mean a whole bunch because, like I said, the folks who don't give positive reviews aren't allowed at things like this, and it's kind of a shitty thing that the game industry does, but it is what it is. And the stuff I've seen actually has been really encouraging. Everything from how amazing the graphics are. They were talking about how so Jedi Fallen Order wasn't an open world game, right?
It was a series of tubes that happened to connect at certain points.
Right. But there was like an open world feel to it sometimes because you could return to different planets
and you had the choice of like 3 different tubes to get to the destination you wanted to.
And the developers now are still like, it's not an open world, but it's a lot more open world than it was. And I think I think he's like, he says something like, don't think about it as an open world, think of it as an open map or something. Okay. Like he made some weird distinction where it's like, so you mean an open world?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of the Metroid Prime games. I don't know if you've ever played
them. Yeah, there's a ton of that game that's kind of, it's Metroid Prime and fucking Dark Souls is pretty much,
So you have like certain hub areas where all these different corridors, tubes, whatever, hook up, but like it's not, you can go from like point A to point B to point C, but you might not be able to go from point A to point C because
you don't have force push yet or something,
or there's just an impassable wall.
You haven't run into Trillo the asshole yet.
Yeah, sure.
So the apparently you have all of your force powers from the last game, plus one more, which is like a mind trick, like a force confuse thing, which I thought was pretty neat. You have all of the lightsaber stances you had in the last game.
Okay.
So double-sided saber. One saber, or you can break them apart into 2, right? Plus, you're going to get like 3 more.
And now you have a gun.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if you start with one or not, but it's definitely going to be a part of it. They've confirmed that there's dismemberment in the game, which I am really shocked about because Disney. I mean, they were squeamish about dismemberment before Disney got a hold of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And I figured that once Disney bought Star Wars and started making video games, that we would never see dismemberment.
Well, I mean, it's been part of Star Wars ever since the very first movie, right? When Obi-Wan cut that guy's arm off in the cantina.
Yeah, but still, I think that since then they've tried to kind of make it as kid-friendly as possible.
Sure, like it's entertainment for children, but you can't have fucking laser swords and not have them cut people's hands off.
At first, I was like, when I read the original dismemberment story about like, oh, there's dismemberment, it's like, well, it looks like most of the enemies are battle droids. So like that's not exactly dismemberment, because like you could chop pieces off of people or off of creatures in Jedi Fallen Order.
Sure.
But the guy in the article was like, no, you can cut a dude's leg off. Like you literally can dismember people, which I think is really neat. And then they were talking about there's a map traversal thing that's new now where you can tame beasts and get to places faster and all this other stuff. So anyway, I'm really excited. We will absolutely be streaming it on the channel as soon as it comes out. I'm gonna have to clear some shit off my hard drive because it's like 150 something gigs.
It is thick with 2 C's, as the kids say.
Yeah. So make sure you're around for that because I will be playing it on day 1. It'll be a blast. So I think that's all. That's all the.
That's all the news.
Yeah,
there's not much news.
Yeah, if we have a little bit of time after the recap, we're going to talk about. There's a Secret Invasion trailer for the MCU, which looks fucking good, and there's a Spider-Verse trailer, which looks fucking amazing. Yep. It looks just as good as the first one.
There's also been a couple of TV spots for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah. I haven't watched them, but I know that they're around. I'm not. I don't know if I care about Guardians of the Galaxy much. Like, I'm going to see it when it comes out because it's a part of the MCU. And look, I might be... I'm sure that I am in the minority here. I don't like Chris Pratt.
That's fair.
I just think he's a numbskull. I just don't like him very much. And, it's weird because I loved him in Parks and Rec, but I haven't liked him in anything else. And I don't know if this is because it's always Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec in every fucking role. And I love how he comes to Mario and he's like, I'm going to be Mario, but it's just going to be fucking Andy Dwyer playing Mario.
Well, he wasn't that much of Andy Dwyer in Jurassic Park.
He was kind of Andy Dwyer in
A
Jurassic
little
Park.
bit.
Yeah.
He
He was Andy Dwyer if Andy Dwyer didn't have a severe learning disability.
And if he could do the hand thing with the raptors.
Right, yeah. So if we have time after the recap, we'll talk about that. So here's the thing about we're not going to do a spoiler-free thing because I don't think we have enough time.
I think there's just too much. Like, everything I would want to talk about this episode is spoilers.
Is connected to spoilers or something, yeah. So we're going to spoil the episode. If you've not seen it, please, for the love of the Force, turn around, go watch it, come back, and finish. Let us know if we miss any Easter eggs or anything. I'm gonna try to have a list pulled up here as like maybe afterwards or something.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in the comments as we're going along. Put your thoughts and feelings and prayers into the comments as well. And we'll be reading every one. For the last few Wednesdays, I've been trying to make a post on Facebook for people to put their thoughts in to read on the show as well. So you can go find that and comment on that as well. We'll be reading it afterwards. So let's get started. Let's go. You've been warned.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Mandalorian Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. And just like in every other fucking Star Wars thing, you open in space of the ship, right?
Yep.
And it's like a really obvious Mon Calamarian ship. When I watched this, which I've watched it twice today because of the cameos, I think.
Yeah.
And I watched it with John when he got home, and he didn't know exactly what it was, but it's got like the real like telltale blisters and stuff on the outside. It's kind of like, I really thought that it was going to be like, oh, it's Admiral Akbar. It's not Admiral Akbar.
Nope.
Some other fucking tentacle face.
Corans.
Yeah. Sorry, that might be a little racist. So, fucking tentacle face guy walks in and feeds his goldfish, like feeds his goldfish in a tank, and it turns out the goldfish is the fucking captain of the fucking thing. He walks in with a little fish, dumps it in, and the guy's like, ooh, look, a fish, and he eats it. Yeah. And it's like, that's pretty fucking cool, actually, because the captain gets to sit in a little tube of water.
Yeah.
And originally, the ship design, apparently, was not this particular ship, but like the Mon Calamarian ships. A really good example of this is Admiral Raddus's ship in Rogue One. Was supposed to have a bridge entirely submerged in water. And that's why if you watch Rogue One, Admiral Raddus has this entire area underneath him that's glass that he can look down at the planet. It's because that whole thing was supposed to be a giant fishbowl.
Yeah.
So I guess they found like a compromise. Like, you can have a tube. You have a tube of water.
Sure.
Fucking be happy with it. So they're trying to avoid something. They're like, oh, we're not going to go on the trade route. Something bad might happen there. And they're like, well, guess what? Something bad's happening. There's an Imperial ship on the scopes, and the captain's like, well, can we blow it up? And he's like, no, it's got a lot of guns and it's got a fishing net. Like, we're pretty fucked.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, get the leader on the phone. And there's this really great ship or a shot of a Imperial light cruiser coming up right behind him. Like, it's just
it's not a Star Destroyer, but it's like a mid-sized ship.
And so the captain of the Mon Cal ship hails the Imperials, and she's doing the sucking up diplomatic thing.
Yes, hello. We're new in this sector. We didn't know that there was an Imperial warlord we had to bribe.
Yeah, and they're like, first of all, we're not Imperials, and we're not warlords. We're fucking Mandalorians. And it turned out it's fucking Axe Woves and Sasha Banks flying around in the fucking ship, which is Moff Gideon's ship, by the way, that they fucking hijacked.
With a ton of other Mandalorians, too.
And they're just having a blast, going about doing shit and getting up to shit. And Axe is like, look, the head of your government sent us after you to pick up their son who you absconded with. And there's this whole Romeo and Juliet thing happening between this Corn and this fucking calamari who runs onto the bridge. Is like, but we're in love.
No, my love.
Turns out this voice actor, by the way, is Harry Holland, who is Tom Holland's brother.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just another like
weird
unknown right. Yeah. So they're like, oh, but we're in love. Here, let's touch tentacles, and Axe is like, that's really sweet, but like, we've got a job to do, and
like seriously, his parents are paying very well for this.
That kid's 12. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? And we've got this other job we've got to go do. So like, mazel tov on the wedding or whatever, but prepare to be boarded. And so the prince doesn't want to go, but the Manda's like show
Seriously, we gotta get.
Yeah, they take him away, and he's like, I thought the Mandos were honorable, and Sasha Banks is like, we are, but it fucking costs extra. So, and then
honor costs extra.
Yeah,
it's on the a la carte menu.
Yeah. And so there's a title card with different music which is you like remember when we were doing Andor recaps?
Yep, every week there was very slightly
something
different.
new. Yeah. It was a little different this time as well. So Bo-Katan and Mandalorian they enter the atmosphere of this like Earth-like really pretty green and blue planet, right? And there are these like giant dome structures, and like they find that the fleet. Okay, so the whole thing is that Bo-Katan had a fleet with Moff Gideon's Imperial light cruiser, a bunch of other of those. I think they're what class ship does she fly again?
I don't fucking know.
Oh, it's gonna bother me. I might look it up later. And like a couple of other things, like the one Imperial ship they hijack on the water planet in season 2. And when they figured out that she didn't have the Darksaber, they're like, "Fuck you!" And
fuck you. This is our fleet now.
Yeah. So they found the fleet, right? And they see the fleet while landed and shit. And Mandalorian's like, "Shit, you weren't lying about like you legit had a stolen fleet." Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, it took me a long fucking time to put that fleet together, just so you know." And Mando's like, "So what's the plan? What are we doing here?" And she's like, "Well, Axe, who is an asshole, is in charge, and honestly, like he's a Chad, and it's going to take some head kicking to get him to join us." And on cue, I have in mind.
So like at this point, I was like, "Wait a minute, can't you just show up, have Mando wave the Darksaber around, and all of them immediately bow down?" Like, that would be a really easy solution to your problem right here.
Yeah, but then she's not the one in charge, I guess. And I doubt that he would be like, so if I were Bo-Katan and you were Mando, or the other way around, they would say, "Let's do this." You go down and wave the thing around, and Mando would be like, "No, I don't want that responsibility. I'm a single dad. I don't want that shit." So, on cue, a literal cell phone ringtone sounds, and
Bo-Katan's like, "What the fuck? I thought I turned it on silent."
Yeah, and it's like a flip phone fucking Nokia, sounding bullshit. And they get this welcome message from the planet, and they're like, "That's the last free direct democracy or what the fuck ever." Yeah. And here's a docking slip. Oh, and we're gonna take control of your ship. And they take control of their ship, and there's this really funny moment where Bo-Katan's like
mashing on the buttons.
Yeah.
And just, what the fuck?
Grogu gets a big kick out of it, by the way. So the ship lands. The area is really kind of gorgeous. It reminds me of Epcot from Disney World, honestly. Like what Epcot was designed to be. This like real futuristic looking.
Yeah, the big buckyball or whatever.
So they disembark, and they're met by an Imperial Protocol droid and R2. You know that they're Imperial because they're black. And they're like, "Oh, welcome, to proceed to the tram." And they just kind of like walk right past him. And
like, no, we actually want to see the Mandalorians.
Yeah. So Mando's like, "What the fuck? Those are Imperial droids. Like, why would they have those on an independent world?" And Bo-Katan's like, "Fuck if I know. It's the Outer Rim. Like, weird shit happens out here all the fucking time." And so
it's basically Space Vegas.
Yeah. And so they get on the tram, and Bo-Katan is like, "Okay, take me to the fleet." And the computer's like, "Okay, but I got to scan your ID first." And so they submit. They show their chain codes, and the computer's like, "Oh, hey guys, the leaders of the government want to talk to you." And Bo-Katan's like, "We don't have time." And the computer's like, "No, that wasn't a question. Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Here we go," and fucking takes off. Which, by the way, Grogu loves the tram too.
It's a hyperloop.
Yeah.
It's a giant vacuum tube that just pulls their little capsule.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep calling it a tram.
Okay.
Because that's what's in my notes. So Bo-Katan's like, "So I've never been here before." And Mando's like, "I didn't even know this place existed. So like, are we gonna have to kill some bitches?" And she's like, "Fuck, I hope not. Like, there are only two of us." So this is a good time to remind everyone. When I do my notes on this, it's the first time I watch it, and it's just like a stream of consciousness thing. So here I have tram stops, and they get out. They happen upon a fancy brunch at a long table. Guy at the front of the table says, "Oh, look, our special guests." And then in all caps I have, "Oh my fucking God, that's Jack Black. Oh my fucking God, is that Lizzo?" And sure enough, at the head of this brunch table, Jack Black with his fucking majestic, crazy beard.
That has little swirls in it?
That's his beard. That's what he looks like. And Lizzo with this giant holographic train on her dress.
And fucking gorgeous blue ball dress.
Giant fucking hair and everything.
Like everything is over the top.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's amazing. And I'm just like, I had to pause and laugh. Look, I fucking love Jack Black. He's one of my favorite people in the entire world. And one of my favorite things about him, not a lot of people know this, he started a gaming channel on YouTube called Jablinski Games.
Okay.
Right? And everyone's like, oh my God.
It's fucking Jack Black.
Jack Black has a gaming thing.
Yeah.
And for months and months, he's putting out videos that weren't games. And everyone's like, when are you going to play a video game? And he's like, oh, next week, our Elgato capture card is in the mail. And it was an excuse every week. And he at one point ended up playing some video games, but he just he got over 1 million subs in a day. And everyone was like, where are the video games? And he would just make these normal fucking videos. Yeah. And he's like, this isn't a gaming page, sorry, or a gaming channel. It's great. Fucking national treasure, Jack Black. Also Lizzo, obviously.
Yeah, she's great.
So they have a seat, and it's a weird fucking party.
I hope you like secretions.
Yeah, they're slurping on this thing's pissing into a tube, and they're drinking it or something. And the guards in the back have stormtrooper armor, but they're not wearing helmets, and they've got this colorful fabric and a cape and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I have in my notes, this is the most Jack Black thing ever. It's over the top and crazy, and everything he's ever been in, he hams everything to 1,000%. And he's probably the only person I know where this really works, right? It's just, and it's really funny is I could have known the second that he moved, it was Jack Black, because
the man does not do subtle.
Yeah. And there's, Weird Al has this song called Tacky, which is I
think Jack Black's in the video for.
Yes. And so the song called Tacky, and it's a spoof on Happy, yeah. And you watch the music video, and you see a man far off start moving around, coming toward the camera, and the first second you see him that it's Jack Black, because I don't know how he does. He just bounces everywhere. Yeah. It's so crazy. I fucking love him. Half of this is going to be me laughing about Jack Black, by the way. So Jack Black is like, hey, do you know that I was once a facilities manager or facilities planning officer during the war? And thanks to the amnesty program, which is the thing they're bringing up a lot in Mando, I came back here and built this place. And
he has a little amnesty pin on his chest.
And Lizzo's like, it's true. Also, I'm Lizzo, and we fucking fell in love. I was royalty here before he got here. He got here, we fucked, and we fell in love. Yeah. And Lizzo's like, I would like to see the baby. And Mando's like, no. And
then Lizzo holds out a little sardine or something. Grogu's like, ooh, meat, and jumps over.
Grogu's like, fuck you, Dad, and just jumps from right into her arms. And she's just sitting there the whole time, feeding him like little minnows. It's the funniest shit in the world. So
Grogu's like, I don't know who you are, but you're feeding me, so you're good people.
Yep. Turns out that they're not allowed to have a military because Jack Black's Imperial passed, and there's a law against it.
Okay, fair.
So they hired Mandos for protection, which also is
fair.
That's pretty smart, actually. So Bo-Katan's like, okay, we're just here to talk to the Mandalorians, and Jack Black's like, okay, but first, you really need to see the view. Wink. Let's go. And they all stand up, and everyone else stands up. He's like, no, you guys stay here, or I'm just going to take them over to the balcony and show them the view.
We're going to look at the fucking scenery.
So they get up, they go over to the thing, and Jack Black's like, okay, the view's bullshit. It's not really bullshit. It's actually beautiful, but I called you over here for something else.
It was all a ruse.
Yeah. So it turns out Jack Black has a problem. There's a coordinated droid malfunction. And it started innocent at first, and it escalated, and now some pretty dangerous shit's happening. And Bo-Katan's like, okay, but what the fuck does this have to do with us? And Lizzo's like, none of our cops can fight battle droids. And Mando's like, what? You have battle droids? What the fuck?
You have battle droids, and they're just taking out your trash?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And remember, his entire family was killed by battle droids, right? So
Mando is not okay with battle droids.
Right. So Jack Black is like, I mean, but they're rehabilitated, though. And Lizzo's like, were they? They might not have been. So it turns out that the Garrison Mandos, they can't fix the problem because they can't come into the city.
Because they're an army.
Yeah, because there's a law about standing army, and their cops don't even carry guns. Because this place really is kind of like this weird utopia.
Yeah.
we'll talk about it a little bit later, but like everyone is actually earnestly participating in the democracy and shit. And it's like kind of like, it's not one of those weird, like everyone seems really happy, but underneath there's a dark secret or whatever. Like everyone seems like really kind of chill. Yeah. So, they're like, yeah, our cops can't even carry guns. And Amanda's like, but we have guns and you let us in. And he's like, yes, but your religion is guns, much like the American South. So see what I'm getting at here? And like he waggles his eyebrows. That's the fucking Jack Black eyebrow waggle. And so Jack Black and Lizzo are amazing in this episode, right? And they just everything they say is great. And they offer this big like diplomatic incentive to helping. They're like, well, we'll recognize Mandalore as a sovereign state and petition the new Republic and shit. And it's like, you're trying to take back Mandalore, right?
Yeah.
And Bo-Katan's like, no, I abandoned that. And he's like, well, the offer still stands. And so Bo-Katan looks over at Mando. She's like, well, and he's like, and this is a direct quote, you had me at motherfucking battle droids. And
so this whole episode is just a setup to have a buddy cop episode with Bo-Katan and Mando.
It's literally why am I forgetting the name of this movie? Fucking Harrison Ford. I mentioned this movie one other time on this show, and I forgot it then too.
I was gonna go with like Lethal Weapon or something.
No. It's way more directly. Hold on. I'm gonna be really embarrassed that I don't remember this. Blade Runner. For fuck's sake.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's literally Blade Runner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
So they go to the security officer, and oh my fucking god, it's Christopher Lloyd. Because why wouldn't it be Christopher Lloyd?
This is where they spent all their guest star budget. Just this one episode.
Yeah, so Christopher Lloyd talks to him about. I didn't learn any of these characters' names, by the way.
Yeah.
It's literally Jack Black, Lizzo, and Christopher Lloyd. So he talks to him about how they reprogram the droids. Yeah. And like, he's like, it was a success until like there's this one isolated incident, and he shows the incident, and it's this trash droid who just goes apeshit when he starts. Yeah. So he goes apeshit and he just drives off like nothing happened. And there are other examples, and they're all increasingly bad. And then there's this fucking. So they show. Hold on a second. They have this chef droid, who we've seen in Book of Boba Fett before, by the way, who is in Jabba's palace. And he does the General Grievous thing, right? And he's sitting there. It's like he's like doing the fucking walk thing and chopping things up, and just goes apeshit and starts cutting everybody up. And Bo-Katan's like, why wouldn't you just turn them off? Like, they're just robots. And he's like, well, okay, get this. Despite people getting chopped up, everyone voted that we can't disrupt the droid service, because here no one has to work, and they depend on the droids. They go about their lives with leisure. They participate in the democracy,
do art and whatever.
Yeah. And here's a big fucking red Chekhov's shut-off button that I'm sure won't come into play later in the story. I could push it and end it now, but it's against the law. So Bo-Katan and Mando, they're going to go find the rogue droids while a fix can be implemented, right? And he's like, well, give us a list of the rogue droids. And Christopher Lloyd's, well, you're going to have to go down, talk to the Ugnaughts, and those motherfuckers are impossible. So good luck. And watching it the second time, with knowing what happens, like you watch his character, and the obvious is a lot more obvious, right? Especially if you're used to this formula, you kind of know who the bad guy is in the first place. But he's like, yeah, go talk to the Ugnaughts. They're fucking, they're terrible. So on the elevator down, Amanda's like, fuck droids, man. And Bo-Katan's like,
you're taking this personally,
yeah,
aren't you?
What is wrong with you? And he's like, they killed my parents. And she's like,
yeah, okay, Batman.
Yeah. So they visit the Ugnaughts. Fucking Bo-Katan, the little princess that she is.
Hey, fucking get over here and tell us what we want.
No. That's not how she does it. She walks in with a formal fucking, hello, I'm Bo-Katan Kryze, blah, 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 blah. They're immediately ignored, right? And
don't even look up.
Yeah.
The Ugnaughts are just doing their
they
thing.
just like, that they hear her too. And they're like, we're not listening. Mando's like, listen up, motherfuckers. I'm Din Djarin. I'm a Mandalorian. My friend was Kuil the Ugnaught. Answer our questions, or I'm going to stick a foot up your ass. I have spoken. And they're like, he said the words.
He has spoken.
Yeah. And this works. He said the words, and, So it turns out that, like, everyone sits down. Like the next shot is like 3 of the Ugnaughts like staring at Bo-Katan.
Yeah, and they're just sitting around, having a coffee break
Yeah.
or whatever.
So it turns out the Ugnaughts don't like. At first they're like, the droids aren't malfunctioning, and
Bo-Katan's
Yeah.
like, what?
here's a video of everyone murdered by this fucking chef droid, and so Mando is able to play the diplomat here because when he was friends with Quill, he kind of learned some things about that culture, and he kind of speaks their language a little bit, and he eventually gets a list of the rogue droids, right?
Yep.
So Bo-Katan and Mando get back on the tram. They go through the loading docks because on the list or whatever, I guess the Ugnaughts were like, oh, the next incident will probably happen at here or whatever. And he tells her, like, you know that you were a huge bitch back there, right? like their entire their culture and pride is around their work, and when you like accuse them of messing up their work, like you kind of really insulted them. And she's like, I don't care. They're only 2 feet tall. And so they make it to the loading docks. So Bo-Katan's like, shit, I haven't seen this many battle droids since the Clone Wars, and like, do you think any of them look suspicious? And Mando's like, yeah, all of them. And she's like, damn, dude, that's a little space racist, don't you think? And he's like, no, they killed my parents. And she's
it's fascinating to watch this sort of good cop bad cop
Yeah.
interplay where like anytime there's a droid, Mando is the bad cop and Bo-Katan's the good cop.
but with like little bitty Ugnaughts, it's like, yeah. And
Yeah.
I guess she wasn't really the bad cop there. She just she wasn't sensitive enough to their their thing. So they find a battle droid foreman
Roger.
who has the same fucking voice from the Clone Wars. And
Because why would they update that?
I know, I've come to accept it. It's just
I mean, come on, Daniel. You barely run Windows Update as it is. You think they're going to update fucking battle droids?
that's fair. Do you remember in episode 1, the battle droids are actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like they don't have weird personalities. Their voices are a lot more monotone and menacing.
There's just a shit ton of them, and they're kind of this faceless horde walking forward and shooting.
And then episode 2 came along, and it's like, Anyway, I'm over it. I'm not chapped about it. So anyway, Bo-Katan's asking questions about she's investigating, right?
Yeah.
She's the cop that has the pad out, and she's asking
going
questions.
down her list, asking questions.
Mando is over here fucking with this line of
like
super battle droids,
waving his hand in front of them. He starts kicking them. As
well,
they're
hold on
walking
a second. So, like, you can tell first of all, he just seems like I wonder what happens if I wave my hand in front of them, and he looks just like you can tell he's a little curious, where he's like, oh, that didn't do anything.
Hey, do you see me?
So, have you ever seen? So the droid's like, don't wave your hands, don't do that, and Mando's like, no, I'm going to do that, and then he just starts kicking super battle droids over, right? Now, have you ever seen those Boston Dynamics videos?
Yes.
Where they like have the little robot and they kick him over and shit. This is exactly that. Like, it looked just like that. And he kicks one and it falls over and it dusts himself off and picks up his box and looks at him and is like, fuck you, man. Like 3 of them do that. Like on the 4th one, it just fucking snaps. It turns around, backhands him across the face, and takes off. And they give chase. I keep drifting this way. Which is really funny because when he ran off, Bo-Katan draws both of her guns and shoots another battle droid. And I think it's because she doesn't know the difference, even though one of them's moving and one of them's not. But she legit just hits another battle droid that isn't the one they're trying to get. So they chase him through this crowded area with a bunch of people, and like the super battle droid is picking shit up and throwing it at him, and the Mandalorian is finally able to like cut through a bar and jump out the window and tackle him, and Bo-Katan shoots him, kills it, and fucking little floaty droids come out and establish a crime scene.
This is a crime scene. Thank you for standing back.
Yeah, and this part is like literally copy pasted from Blade Runner, where they're doing the investigation out in the crime scene with everyone watching and shit, and Bo-Katan finds a spark pad, whatever the fuck that is.
It's a fucking business card. I don't know.
That says the resistor, which it's like, it sounds like a droid bar, which is like, excuse me?
I guess?
What do you mean droid bar? So it has an address on it, so they go to check it out, right? So they find the bar, and before they go in, Bo-Katan's like, okay, listen, we're going to do this one my way, no kicking droids. And he's like, what? That's a stupid rule. And she's like, just listen to me. We need to do this another way.
Fine.
And he's like, fucking fine. That's fine. So they walk past, like They go to walk in like there's a droid. Like Mando goes to raise his leg up to kick him, but
No.
he's like, no, bad, stop it. So, first of all, I guess I wrote this in my notes before. Yeah, this is how you know I do a just stream of consciousness thing, because I say, wait, what the fuck are these droids drinking? So they walk into the bar and there's like a record scratch, and then everyone stops.
Everyone looks at the fucking Mandalorians who just walked in.
Yeah, and it's just like every Western trope in the world when someone walks into the saloon and everyone shuts up. So they go to the bartender and they ask him some questions, and the bartender isn't really being super cooperative, and Mando just gets really fucking like impatient, pulls out this shock prod thing, and he's like, I'm gonna stick this right up your ass if you don't like cooperate. And
this fucking blue C-3PO looking motherfucker just gets up and starts
he's
wilding
like,
out.
I think I'm gonna go.
Mando's like, nope.
Nope. Yep.
If you try to leave, I'm going to kill everyone in this bar and then you.
Yeah. So Bo-Katan's like, sidebar, and Mando's like, what? I didn't kick him. And he's like, you threatened to peel his face off and while wearing it, go to his family and pretend to be him until they realize what had happened. And Mando's like, I don't see the problem with that. And the bartender cuts in and is like, look, we actually want to help. Like, this is a bad look for us droids, and we run the risk of being replaced. And like for a lot of us, this is a second chance. And like we don't want to fuck it up. And honestly, we live so much longer than you guys. You're not actually asking a ton of us. Like what, 8 hours a fucking day? Like it's nothing. Like you'll be dead in 50 years and we'll be laughing at you. So like, why would we do this?
Yeah.
You know? And so there's a surprisingly touching moment where all the droids in the bar are like chittering and beeping and to show their support and everything. And so, and I have in my notes, just a reminder, droids are apparently sentient beings in Star Wars and humans keep them as slaves. Like, that's fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up, yeah.
And they usually get around it by doing frequent memory wipes. But
which is also fucked up.
Yeah, there's a whole morality thing here that's never been explored before. Well, I guess a little bit with L7 in Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it turns out that the droids all have one beverage choice, which is called
Nepenthe.
Nepenthe, right? And it's a lubricant giggity, but also acts as like it has subparticles.
It's fucking Windows update.
Yeah, it's like it gives a patch every time there's an update from the mainframe or whatever.
Yeah.
And all the malfunctioning droids, what do you know, drank from the same batch. It was a bad batch. Get it? A bad batch. Sorry, I really missed the bad batch. I wish it was still on. Yeah, I really came around to that show.
Okay.
I'm really mad. I'm just really mad they killed Tech.
Yeah.
Fucking Tech, man. So they go to a droid morgue. Which
why do they have a droid morgue?
They have a droid morgue. This is also straight from Blade Runner. And they get a sample of the shit. And while they're analyzing, this repurposed interrogation droid goes ape shit and starts attacking, and Mando fucking cuts it in half with a Darksaber, right? Mm-hmm. So it turns out that the Nepenthe has nanodroids in it.
Nano machines.
And the nanodroids have writing.
Oh my god.
Which is a chain code. Mm-hmm. And so they're trying to figure out where the fuck did these nanodroids come from, and they trace it to the Techno Union. Mm-hmm. It turns out that the nanobots were specially ordered, not from droid acquisition, but from security.
That's
which
weird.
Apparently is illegal as well, in addition to being weird. So they're like, well, who ordered them? And great Scott, it's fucking
Christopher Lloyd.
It's Christopher Lloyd. So they go and confront him, right?
Like, step away from the desk.
Yeah.
You're under arrest.
And he's like, remember that big red fucking button at the beginning of this? And he flips the switch on it, and he's like, if I hit this, all the droids will revert to battle droids and kill everyone. Fucking all hail Count Dooku and curse his murderer, Anakin fucking, and Bo-Katan hits him with a stun dart. And she's like, fuck politics. Like, it just fucking falls right over. And it turns out he was like this real old school separatist, right?
Which works because he's old.
Yeah. I just like the little Count Dooku thing. Like,
Count Dooku was right.
Yeah. Free Count Dooku.
Free Count Dooku and maybe give him back his head.
Yeah. Maybe do that first and then free him. So meanwhile, Jack Black and Lizzo are playing roly-poly croquet or whatever. And Grogu's helping Lizzo win with the Force.
Like, apparently this is just what Grogu was doing the whole time while the Mandalorians are off, shooting things.
So Bo-Katan and Mando bring Christopher Lloyd in with the cuffs. And he monologues a little bit more. And Lizzo's like, I'm real fucking disappointed in you. And he's like, oh, well, I didn't expect that. I'm really sorry. And she's like, well, I might forgive you someday, but you're going to go exile on the moon of Paraquat or whatever.
Wherever.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, well,
okay, fine.
That's fair. but really, hail Dooku. But I get it. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And so he fucks off, right? And the little droids, like the little police droids who have red and blue little flashing lights on them. So Bo-Katan and Mando are granted an audience with the other Mandalorians and are given a fucking key to the city. And she grants Grogu a knighthood, and it's fucking adorable. And she's like, you are a knight of the blah, 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 blah. And Grogu's got this look on his face like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Sir Grogu of wherever the fuck this planet is.
Amanda's like, okay, give me my fucking kid. Like, picks him up. He's like, we're going now. So on the tram ride over, Bo-Katan is worried because she's like not the leader anymore, and Axe is, and she doesn't really have a plan. He's like, what are you gonna do? She's like, I don't know, I'm gonna fucking wing it. We'll see when we get there. So they get there. Bo-Katan's like, I've come to reclaim my fleet, and Axe is like, I'm sorry, whose fleet? And she's like, okay, good point. I challenge you. And Axe is like, I thought you'd never ask. And they get in this little fight, and it gets pretty wild. Like they end up on top of a ship at one point.
Flying around, Axe is like shooting rockets at her.
Which, by the way, someone could have been hurt.
Yes.
Because he doesn't even check where he's aiming. Like there's one point, he's like, he fires a rocket and it misses her, and like it almost hits like a whole group of people, and they're Mando, so they just kind of like move, and they're like, oh,
yeah,
whatever.
like they're Mandalorians. Getting hurt is their religion.
Yeah, exactly. So they end up on top of one of the Marauder class ships, and he knocks Bo-Katan off the ship, but she grabs him with her fucking
she
rope
uses her
thing.
jetpack and like grappling hooks him and slams him to the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool fight. So Bo-Katan eventually beats him.
Yeah, she pins him to the ground, sticks her little knife to his throat.
Axe is like,
fucking yield, bitch.
And now,
which that's how Mandalorians flow.
Oh yeah, like she's probably pregnant now.
Yeah.
So
no, he's pregnant because she won.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah. So Axe is like, you'll never be our true leader. Like, you don't have the Darksaber, and you can't even take the Darksaber from Mando. He's the one you should be challenging. And Bo-Katan stands up and goes to give a pep talk, and like they're like, he's not even a Mandalorian, and she defends.
She's like, bullshit. Do you see how much shiny fucking Beskar this guy's got?
She's like, Mando's the most fucking Mando that ever Mandoed, and the Darksaber comes up again, and Mando's like, everybody stop. Okay, look. I'm tired of hearing you guys bitch about this fucking Darksaber. I don't even know why the fuck you guys love it so much. It's heavy as fuck. It's impossible to use. Just take it for fuck's sake. I don't want it anymore. And goes to hand it to Bo-Katan. She's like, no, you can't do it that way. It's not a gift.
How this works, Mando.
And
I'm like, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, I got captured. Like,
I have a technicality.
This thing beat me up.
Let me clear all this up.
Yeah. And then she beat up the thing that beat me up. So therefore, she gets the Darksaber via this loophole.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh.
And apparently Mandalorians are rules lawyers, so this is fine.
Yeah. Like all the Mandalorians like, why didn't you open with that? I mean, shit.
That's fine.
So Bo-Katan, he gives Bo-Katan, gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, and there's this awesome shot of her turning it on, and she is fucking Mandalore now, right?
There you go.
And that's the end. And I hate it. I fucking hate this. Look.
Okay.
If they would make the episodes a little bit longer and do some character development, they wouldn't have to do these 180 flips on characters, where you have the Armorer, who is this fanatical cult leader who is probably since birth ingrained with these crazy fucking beliefs, and one day turn around and be like, oh, none of that shit matters, go ahead and take off your helmet. Or they wouldn't have to be like, oh, well, technically, I guess she is the owner of the Darksaber. They could have made a story where they had to fight for it, where she and Mando had to fight for it, and it could have been so much better. Don't take this the wrong way. I loved most of this episode. In fact, a lot of people are bothered by the cameos because they think it kind of takes them out of it, and I kind of agree. It's like when Ed Sheeran was in Game of Thrones, and everyone's like, that's just redhead Ed Sheeran. Like, who the fuck? And when I saw Jack Black, I was like, it's just fucking Jack Black. But you know what? I'm fine with Jack Black being in fucking Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if you consider how in a cult or in a universe,
in a world,
where there are so many different alien cultures and everyone knows each other, there would be some weird shit happening. Like, there would be some weird there would be this fucking utopia out here with Jack Black. Like, that would happen because there are so many people. And so, like, that part of it's fine. If fucking Christopher Lloyd, you gonna bitch about Christopher Lloyd being in a sci-fi show? Are you shitting me? Christopher Lloyd's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, he was great. But how old is that man?
He's got to be pretty old.
He's got to be like 110 or something.
Maybe not that old, but pretty old.
But it's still fucking great. And I loved his like, oh, you must have caught me monologuing thing. But if like there are a couple of like more serious beats where if they would have dedicated a little bit more money and made the episodes a little bit longer and do just a little bit more storytelling, we wouldn't have had to been like, oh, the armor just dropped her religion for no reason. Or, oh, I guess technically just like with Dumbledore's fucking Elder Wand because so-and-so disarmed so-and-so, Harry's the real owner of the fucking Darksaber or whatever.
Yeah. I think so. I was surprised that they went with this loophole because, like, they could have mentioned it way back on Mandalore, and like they never even fucking considered it. Mando just picked up the Darksaber, clipped it back on his belt, and that was the last we heard of it until now. I do agree with you about the armorer. It's weird that she would go from being completely dedicated to this cult to wanting
where the most important thing is not taking your helmet off. It's like all they fucking care about. It's like they could run around butt ass naked, and as long as they had their helmet on, no one would fucking care.
It's very weird that she made an about face on that, and they didn't really explain it all that much.
It's very cult. People involved in cults don't change like that. Like it's just not how it works. Mm-hmm. They could have had the same. They could have had the same landing point for that character, and it would have made sense with more character development. Just a little bit more character development. It would have made sense. And it's like in the last spoiler warning for the last season of Game of Thrones. Fucking Daenerys Targaryen burns down all of King's Landing.
I don't want to be the Queen of the Ashes. Burns down King's Landing.
And like I could have accepted this like as the ultimate landing point of the character, but it just kind of came out of nowhere. And if you want to fight with me about this, come to the Battlefront stream and we'll fight about it. I feel like most people weren't very happy with it, but it's like the storytelling could have been a little bit more complete, and you could have had us think of the idea first a little bit with some, because that's kind of how you write a good story. You put little things in and you get a few people to come to the conclusion first, and that's kind of how you bring people around to it, right? They could have done something like that, and I think it would have been better. Now, that being said, I still had a ton of fun with this episode.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's still feeling a little aimless. Oh, there are only 2 episodes left.
It felt like a big side quest.
Yeah.
That just happened to have the main story at the beginning and the end.
Yeah. So, and I'm not sure what happens in the last 2 episodes.
Oh, that reminds me, actually. We still have to resolve the Beskar on Moff Gideon's shuttle. So
yeah, I thought it was going to end up being Axe or Sasha Banks or something.
Could still be a possibility.
Oh, that's true.
That it was one of their.
Maybe they find out in the next episode.
That's possible. I feel not so confident of that because, like, looking around, the Axe's Mandalorians didn't have very much Beskar, if any, on them.
Don't they all have Beskar?
I'm not sure because they were all wearing the same gear that Bo-Katan wears, and she only has the one Beskar pauldron because the armorer made that for her. I don't think they were wearing any bright, shiny Beskar.
Well, I don't think it has to be bright and shiny to be Beskar. Come to the Battlefront stream and we'll talk about it. If you know either way on this, let us know.
I still think it's most likely that they're being framed that Gideon's kind people of just brought along some Beskar and jammed it in the wall just to say, "Oh, it's Mandalorians."
Yeah, let's read a couple of fellow Star Wars fan comments. Mm-hmm. April says, number 1, did we just get a buddy cop drama in freaking Star Wars? Because I'm both entertained and slightly confused. 2, we need more Christopher Lloyd. You sly dog, you caught me monologuing. 3, it's okay that Din's not the one. I never felt he is ready to be the one. I don't think he'd ever want to be either. Mm-hmm. And while I've had my misgivings on Bo-Katan, I'm perfectly okay with him getting passed over. If Bo-Katan leads everyone in retaking Mandalore, then that's a good thing for Din Djarin. Jimmy says, I love the episode. Felt like a Clone Wars episode. It did. In parts, felt like a goofy-ass Clone Wars episode. I also loved the Dooku and Anakin mentions. And Tyler says, Jack Black.
Yes.
Derpy Entertainment. Can I just say, fellas, isn't this show called The Mandalorian, not the Bo-Katan show? Just a small nitpick. I mean, she is a Mandalorian.
But also, Mando was there the
Yeah.
whole time.
He has kind of. I can see where the comment comes from.
Yeah.
It kind like sometimes it looks like he's in the backseat of his own show, but that's what happens when you have a show that only has 25 fucking minute episodes. Like, it's crazy.
I think it's more that they're expanding the plot away from lone gunslinger in Space Wild West to remaking this entire culture, retaking their homeworld.
Yeah, it's a much farther reaching thing.
Yeah.
But it was a decent episode, I guess, but absolutely does nothing heading forward. It's now 6 episodes in without. Well, I don't necessarily disagree that they didn't. I mean, they
did move ahead the main plot. Though.
There was that's my problem with it, is that it did move ahead a lot, but it happened in 3 minutes, and it shouldn't have. It should have happened over longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, it was a consequential episode. Like, a huge fucking thing happened at the end. It's just they should have just spread it out a little bit more.
They could have just dumped the buddy cop plotline entirely and just concentrated more on Mando internal politicking and all that.
Yeah. This whole season has been a side quest. That's Mandalorian though.
Yeah.
Like, go back to the first season of Mandalorian. Every episode is a side
Remember
quest.
the fucking Frog Lady episodes?
Yeah. Every episode there's fucking ice spiders and Frog Lady and Bo-Katan and fucking Ahsoka Tano and
fucking girls get it done.
Yeah, and in the first episode it was Quill and
I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold.
Yeah, and the fucking the guy
Mudhorn.
Yeah, and the guy from Space Boston and in the prison break and shit. Like, everything is a side quest, but it's, if this episode was like 40 minutes long, I think.
Yeah.
If all of them were like 40-minute episodes, they would have more time to do storytelling, and I think they could be a little bit more thorough with it. I think people would be a little bit more pleased with it as well. Is there anything in here? Grogu, Night of the Bug, Croquet. I almost expected the old man to say Dooku killer. By the way, it turned out to be Darth freaking Vader. Oh yeah. Star Wars theory and his followers bashed this episode. So you're not writing this unintelligibly. It's very small and I can't read it.
Yeah.
Bashed this episode in his watch along last night, especially the cameos, crying how it was a filler episode with no plot to the story. I mean, okay, so look,
that's wrong.
Yeah.
There is story progression. It just happened all the way at the end.
Yeah, and it's not just, look, you can say that maybe it didn't advance the main plot a whole bunch, but you can't say that this was not a plot. It was literally full of plot. It just that the plot for this episode didn't do anything to advance. Didn't do a whole bunch to advance the whole the Mandalore thing. The Night Owls all wear painted Beskar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna reset. We're gonna go play some Battlefront. We hope you can join us.
Let's talk about the MCU stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
When we get there.
Yep. Yeah. The trailers and everything. That'll be fun.